Welcome everyone to the Township Council meeting, Monday, July 26, 2021. This meeting is now called to order. Councilmember Havertz, please lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll. No?
Statement of public notice.
I'm sorry, statement a little bit out of sync here. Ms. Kraus, please read the statement of public notice. Yes.
Take notice that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with NJSA 10:4-8 and NJSA 10:4-10 as follows. Notice of the meeting was prominently posted on the bulletin board at the municipal building located at 225 Main Street, Little Falls, New Jersey on July 22nd, 2021. A copy of the notice was mailed to the North Jersey Herald and News and the Record on the same date. Additionally, a copy of the notice was filed in the office of the township clerk on said date. This meeting is being conducted under the circumstances surrounding the COVID-19 health situation. Only 25 members of the public will be allowed to attend the meeting in person. A link and a telephone number to join the meeting virtually can be accessed on the township website at www.lfnj.com. Electronic provisions have been established for the public to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraus. At this time, please call the roll.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Present.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Present.
Councilmember Sieber, Councilmember Vanchery,
Present.
Council President Scoba.
Present. Please let the record show that our police chief Post is in attendance and our fire chief Altanji is in present, and our counselor this evening is Counselor Friend from the law firm of Friend and Wenzel. Thank you. Have a motion to approve the minutes for June. We'll take both June 28th and July 12th.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quaddy, second by Councilmember
Second.
Vanchery. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I didn't hear
That's
you. I'm
okay.
sorry.
Is everyone hearing me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion was moved by Councilman Quaddy, second by Councilman Vanchery. Please call the roll for the minutes of June 28th and July 12th.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Can the audience hear us okay? Okay, thank you. Councilman Vanchery, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Council President. So hopefully everybody can hear me as well. First, it's good to be back here inside. It's nice to see everyone here and see some familiar faces in the second row instead of the front row. Tonight's agenda obviously has attracted a lot of attention for concerns around the zoning ordinance 416. Mayor Damiano, just want to say thanks for the call and taking time out of your schedule to discuss the feedback that came from the town hall, and appreciate all the feedback that came from the residents and the concerns with having the zoning area near the Patterson Ave properties. So, I just wanted to say, from my personal opinion, I look forward to discussing this later tonight and hearing from the residents. But just know, for me, for 416, I'm encouraging my colleagues as well to think about, let's probably reject 1416 and move ahead with not zoning Patterson Ave. So I just wanted to put that out there and look forward to that discussion, and again, and hearing from the folks that are here and then those that are on Zoom as well. I just want to provide some other updates as well, if you can bear with me. First, I got to say congratulations to Councilman Kawadi. Recently he held the first annual water park event at Duva, the sports complex. And I have to say it was a great time until Mother Nature took over and unfortunately made us all go run into the hills. But I can tell you this, the feedback that day was amazing from the residents, not only just the kids, the parents as well. And afterwards, I can tell you personally, I got texts, phone calls and messages through Facebook. Hey, are we going to do this again? Because it was a great event, bringing everyone together, having your water guns and seeing myself and the mayor climb up a 50-foot slide and kind of go down that and then being run over by kids 5 minutes later. It was a good time. So just know that it was well appreciated, a great event, and hopefully you'll do another one next month because we'll be there with our water guns and of course ready to go down a slide if you have one of those as well. So kudos to that. Another event that I do want to mention is, we are coming up on 20 years since the events of 9/11, and this year's 9/11 event, which takes place obviously on September 11th, will take place at 11 a.m. this year at Wilmore Road Park. it's a Saturday this year, so we don't have to worry about doing it later like we do during the week. So there will be a flyer that's going to go out in more details through the township blast, but just want to let everybody know that to honor the 20-year anniversary of the events of 9/11, the ceremony is going to take place at 11 a.m. at Wilmore Road Park. The other thing I just did want to mention was recently I had a chance to connect with one of our engineers about a project that we've been working on for the past year or so when it comes to adding speed humps on a few of our streets in town. I've mentioned this on several occasions where we are looking to add speed humps on Van Pelt as well as Jacobus. And last year we met with several of the residents outside on both streets to discuss what we were looking to do. And this year we're looking to do the same thing because after talking to the engineer last week, he's finishing some of the details that he needs to do. And our next step is to send out a letter to each of those residents looking to get back with all of them to iron out where the speed humps are going to go. For Van Pelt, we're looking at possibly 2 on the street. And for Jacobus, we're probably looking at maybe 2 or 3 at the top part of the street closer to Long Hill versus the bottom where Morningside Circle is. So looking forward to having those conversations with the engineer and then meeting with the residents to nail down what the plan is going to be with that. Council President, that's it for me at this time.
Thank you, Councilmember Cherry. Councilmember Havelitz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. So with the agenda, I also wanted to say thank you to Mayor Damiano for going over everything that happened at the town hall and talking about the ordinance and the concerns of some of our residents. And I'd also like to say, after hearing everything I did from Mayor Damiano and some of the residents, that my intention is going to be to vote no for Ordinance 1416. That being said, I just wanted to bring up some more of the community goings on. So the library is having a luau drive-in bingo Wednesday night at 6:30 at the Civic Center parking lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be bingo. There's going to be prizes given out for the children. So it should be a great family event. And then also we're going to be having our movie night that Councilman Quaddy will tell you more about. So after the bingo, you can go to the movie night. It's just a great family fun night here in Little Falls on Wednesday. If you're not involved with the library, you really should be. There's so many things going on for both children and adults. There's an adult book club that goes on. There's story time in the park. There's story times at the library itself. So there's just a lot going on. So please stop by our library. The other thing I wanted to say was that we are, by popular demand, going to be bringing back our townwide garage sale. It's going to run on September 18th with the rain date of September 19th. The registration is open at the Recreation web page via Community Pass, and there'll be signups all throughout the month of August at the Farmers Market. That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Havelitz. Councilmember Quaddy.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Councilman Vanchery. Yes, Water Day was a lot of fun while it lasted. We conceived of this idea back in the spring of just getting people out. We knew that by the time the summer rolled around, people were going to be looking to get out of their houses and have some summer fun. It seemed like that was the right plan. We piggybacked on the Recreation Department's rental of some water slides for the camp, and we asked them to extend it for a day and open it up to everybody. We were for lack of a better word, we were having a blast until the lightning struck. And I was actually speaking to the mayor at the time, and I think he saw my eyes light up and said, "What'd you just see?" And I said, the lightning just went off, and that was it. The detectors worked very well, because within seconds of that lightning strike that I believe may have even hit within Little Falls, the lightning detectors went off. We got everybody off the field right away. And when we realized that it was not going to pass by quickly, we had to end the event. But it was fun while it lasted, and I'm glad we did it. It continues my track record of planning events that seem to get rained out. But we are going to change that this Wednesday with our first movie night. We are doing 5 outdoor movie nights this year. We've expanded this particular program every year since we started it 2 years ago. This week on the 28th will be Christmas in July. We'll be showing the movie Elf. Next week will be Halloween in August with Beetlejuice, and then we'll be showing Jaws. And I want to let people know, we have decided this year to change things up a little bit. Not every film is going to be appropriate for every age group. We want to see different age groups come out. We don't want every film, we don't want this event to be only for people with small children. So we did get a lot of requests. Councilwoman Hablitz and I have been working on this since the program started. She does a ton of work on it, and I appreciate everything you do, not just on this, believe me. But we did get a lot of requests for a grown-up film, and so we decided to show Jaws this year, and we invite some of the adults to come out, leave your children home for that one, and come and enjoy it, and then we will finish the season off with Star Wars, which I feel like is appropriate for every age. And so please join us for the movie nights. They are Wednesday nights starting this week. The Domestic Violence Prevention Committee was at the farmers market this week, and I appreciate their efforts. The volunteers on that committee do a great job, and I can't express how appreciative I am of them enough, because they really try very hard to raise awareness with this issue, and we will begin planning our vigil that we do every year in October. We'll be planning it starting this month. And finally, on the issue of cannabis, I hope everybody understands the process by which we make decisions and we pass ordinances. And I think that in this instance, you're seeing the process work. We presented an idea to the public. The mayor took it to a town hall. We listened to the residents. We heard their concerns. And I too will be voting no on 1416. We will not be allowing cannabis businesses on Patterson Ave if the vote goes away. It all seems like it's going to. And I think that this is something that should give you confidence in your government, that we presented something, the process played itself out, and it's going the way the public wants it to go, and that's the way it should go. And so I know for me, it renews my faith in government. I hope it does the same for you. That's it for me, Council President.
Thank you for that fine report, Councilman Quaddy. Yeah, that was a great day, that water park. It reminded me of the old Scoba household. Our water park was my mom putting her thumb on the water hose and us just running through it. This was quite a upgrade from there. And to say, this would have taken place because it would have been a mud pit had we tried to do this on the old field.
Indeed.
I think the mayor would have been going into a big mud pit instead of a beautiful pool that you slide down. So what a beautiful thing to have our children recreate and see what we do for the on that level. As far as our seniors go, this past week, we had a great entertainer come into the Civic Center, entertain some 20+ seniors. We had a great afternoon. We had some snacks and some ice cream. Our next great event is going to be the barbecue at Post 108 on the 14th. So I hope all the seniors will attend that. You're welcome to come and enjoy. We're going to have a DJ and some hot dogs and hamburgers. We also had a few sign-ups, mayors of seniors that want to get picked up and dropped off on a Wednesday in August. As you know, we talked about this on the dais, and we'll further that discussion. They're looking to go out and not have to drive and be brought back. And we've talked about this program. It would help the seniors who don't want to drive in, as well as facilitate driving business for our local businesses on that off night of a Wednesday night. As far as cannabis goes, you heard the council members talk about that. I as well will not be supporting that ordinance in talking to the mayor, and also in speaking one-on-one with my fellow council members. That is not the right thing to do, to pass an ordinance that is not in favor of the community. So I will be voting no on that. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Welcome back, everyone. I am happy to be here. My pants and waistline says otherwise. It's a little bit tighter than it was a year ago when I last wore this suit, but I am happy to be back here in person with everyone. As far as this evening, I will say there's been 18 months, I think, or really 15, 16 months on everyone's radar that kind of went by as a blip, and we're going to be picking up right where we left off here. We didn't really have any downtime in between, but I'm happy to be back in action. In the past year, there's been so many great events that we've had in light of COVID, in light of all of the restrictions that there were on us, whether it be the ABC concerts back on Thursday evenings, movie night starting this Wednesday and every Wednesday for the next 5 weeks. The first annual water day that we had, as you heard everybody talk about, and thank you to the fire department for all of their assistance in making that day a reality. It's really amazing how quickly the year has gone and how government has continued to operate. And with respect to government operating, I know one of the major topics that raised some concern of some residents over the past couple of weeks is Ordinance 1416, the special commercial district that we were creating on Patterson Ave with respect to permitting 5 of the 6 potential or using 5 of the 6 potential licenses in that new zone. And one of the things that I wanted to do, and the council was certainly encouraging me to do, was to have a town hall with all of the residents who might be affected by this special commercial district. And I did that. And it was disheartening how right out of the gate, some of the comments in the chat were, why waste your time, everyone? The mayor, the council, they've all made up their minds. To that I say, why would I waste an hour and a half of my life on a weeknight when I could be putting my kids to bed, watching the Yankees probably lose, depending on the day of the week? I wouldn't do that. The reason I had a town hall is because I want to legitimately hear the feedback of the residents in this town. I want to hear their legitimate concerns. And myself and this council will take action based upon those concerns and weigh out all of the concerns that are presented. And I think what everybody sees right here, as Councilman Kawadi indicated, is government, at least small town government, actually working for the residents that we are supposed to be providing this to. And this is, again, a perfect example of that, because we heard those concerns. When I heard those concerns over the next 2 or 3 days after that meeting, I contacted all the council members. I spoke to each of them, and I relayed the concerns that were expressed to me. And it was pretty clear during my conversation with every single council member that I spoke to. Yeah, listen, nobody is personally invested in this district being created. Nobody has personal gain from this district being created. This was simply an idea that was originally, it originally came up because it's an area where the town has been investing a lot of money, the Patterson Ave Field, the Sports and Recreation Complex. And it's an area where I'd love to see a facelift continue, around that Jackson Park area of town. And the original thought was maybe we could have some nice, beautiful redevelopment in the area. But again, hearing all of the concerns, they outweighed what the potential benefit could be. Again, at least for now. And I say that because the beauty of the way that the statute by the state was written is that if it turns out that this is a great business in the future, if it turns out that none of the concerns that the residents expressed come to fruition anywhere in the state, this council at any point in the future can say, and again, this wouldn't just happen without it being announced, without input from the residents, but anywhere in the town, you can continue to allow these licenses to operate in the future. The prohibition, as I've indicated in the past, was once it's allowed, you have to allow it within that district for at least 5 years. So if it turns out that the concerns, after looking at some other areas of the state, if it turns out that, maybe this is a good business for the area, it can be reconsidered. But for now, this evening, after hearing all of the concerns from the residents, and in my conversations with the council, it took no urging on my part. So I can't say that I've urged the council to consider rejecting this ordinance this evening, because they all immediately were receptive to the idea. But again, it's clear that this is not what the town wants at this time. So I have spoken to all of the council members, and although I don't get to vote on the ordinances as they are introduced and adopted, it is certainly clear during my conversations with them that it seems to be each of their individual intentions to reject and deny the ordinance 1416 from being adopted this evening. Next, there's another ordinance. While I have, I'm going to jump around a little bit and stay on the ordinances this evening. Ordinance 1417 is also on the agenda this evening. 1417 has to do with the fire department and the fire division within the municipality. And this is something that will come as no surprise because I've spoken about this in the past. I am going to this evening be asking the council to hold the vote on ordinance 1417, although we will have the public comment. And what it is it is a new ordinance regarding our fire department in town. The reason I am asking that the vote be held by the council this evening is because I have indicated, and I continue to promise to do that, I will be meeting myself, Mr. Cuccia, with our fire chief, with the assistant chiefs, potentially with company presidents. We will be meeting to discuss the new ordinance. We want this to be an ordinance that works for the fire department as well as the municipality. We want it to be an ordinance that strengthens, kind of the rules, the regulations, and everything that everybody agrees to follow within our fire department. So I'm going to be asking that the council hold the vote on ordinance 1417 until all of our schedules permit myself, business administrator, and the fire department to have a meeting. I believe we have a meeting scheduled for August 12th. Don't quote me on that. August 4th. That's in my calendar correctly. But we will be having a meeting with the fire department on August 4th to discuss that ordinance. So that is all that I have this evening, Council President. Happy to be back in person. Happy to see all of you here. And thanks everyone for joining remotely. Hopefully this will be a new way to meet in the future.
Thank you, Mayor Damiano. At this time, Councilor Friend, do you have anything you'd like to bring forward to this governing body? Thank you for attending this evening. Can I have a motion to suspend the agenda in the order to move ordinance 1416 on the agenda for public hearing, the vote at this time? Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilmember Kawadi. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll to move the agenda for 1416.
Councilmember Hablitz,
So we're removing, yes. Okay.
Councilmember Kawadi.
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus, let me just interrupt. What we're voting is we're going to just move the order of business.
Right.
Just, right, correct.
Everybody understand that?
I do, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mrs. Kraus, read ordinance 1416.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1416, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 280 entitled Zoning to establish Article 14, a special commercial district.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open to the public for the public hearing on 1416?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilman Kawadi. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that signify by saying nay. Motion carries and the floor is now open for 1416. Yes. The floor is open for 1416. As you know the rules, state your name
Yes.
and address, please.
Yes, Louis Fernandez, Harrison Street.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'd like to thank you for reconsidering ordinance 1416 and voting it down. I hope in the future, when an ordinance of such importance, especially to, well, I'm going to speak for myself, to the residents of Jackson Park, I hope we can establish a dialogue, communications between the council, the mayor, and the residents, and we can analyze and study all the facts, and then choose what is best for the residents of that specific, in this case, Jackson Park. But in any case, I thank you for voting it down. I think it was the right thing to do. The majority of people in that community, I know quite a large number of them, they have kids, and I think that was our major concern, the kids and and also a few other things that crime and things like that. So, but I'm glad that I'm glad you voted it down. At this point, I'll make other remarks when it's open to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us this evening, Mr. Fernandez. The floor is open on 1416. Thank you for yielding to the woman.
Hi, Vanessa Paza, 9 Woodside Avenue.
Did you get
I'm
that?
actually upset that you guys voted it down because this is in regards to the cannabis ordinance, correct? So essentially what you're saying is that you're opting in because an ordinance has to pass for you to opt out of any licenses. So, and you guys have until August 21st to pass any type of ordinance. So essentially you're saying that any business can establish themselves in any part of Little Falls. So that's why I'm a bit confused that it was voted down. I was okay with the ordinance. I just wanted to request, demand that the 1,000-foot buffer that was placed as from 1,000-foot buffer from the schools, that it be extended to include recreational facilities and daycares.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last statement? To include,
Recreation facilities and daycares. I think that makes most sense. I know the 1,000-foot buffer is kind of, it abides by the Federal Drug-Free School Zone Act. So I know that that's great, but are you guys considering passing any type of ordinance before August 21st deadline?
yes, there's an ordinance on this evening's agenda for the business zone.
Okay, 14, 15, okay.
Do you have any other questions or comments, miss? Okay, thank you for joining us this evening. The floor is open on 1416.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Peter Sam. Moved here 1958.
Mr. Sam, you have to give us your address, sir.
Okay, I resided 22 Sherrill Court for the last 40 years.
Thank you.
And the 28 years before that was on Stevens Ave. Actually 23. All right. I don't come to these very often. I think more people should, because you could learn a lot. And I mean that in a positive way.
Mhm.
I've enjoyed listening to everyone. I am here mainly regarding the cannabis. I am against, allowing cannabis operation in Little Falls. Correct me if I'm mistaken. Is there also a portion of Route 46 that is also under this ordinance or another ordinance?
It's another ordinance, sir,
Different ordinance. All
Yes,
right,
sir.
thank you.
which we'll be discussing, and you'll have an opportunity to talk about that ordinance.
I did learn something in doing a little research that apparently some of these funds that we're, trying to gain, that Senator Booker, I witnessed a video on the internet between a Zach Guzman, who's with Yahoo Finance on the subject of cannabis. And apparently, Mr. Booker, I tried to write this down verbatim, is interested in redirecting the tax revenues to the communities the war on drugs has impacted. So I spoke to several people at the street fairs, and it was an opportunity for Little Falls to receive income. Well, I think other people may have plans for that income on a wider level, and anything we do with cannabis, we may not realize. I was being told 1% of sales or profit. What was that formula, Ray? I'm going to call you Ray for the rest of my life. I went to school with his parents, and then the mom went to school with my daughter.
Do you want to know the financial breakdown, what you're asking?
No, I was asking you what I was presented with at the street fair by several of your team members, that we would be receiving, 1%. Was it 1% of profit, 1% of sales? What was the 1% of that was going to help to reduce our property taxes?
Yeah, I don't know if we have that exact, Mayor, do you have that exact information? But keep in mind, with these percentages, they are still under review. So they may change whatever the mayor says this evening. The legislative body still has the right, because this is still ongoing.
Absolutely.
But the mayor, would you want to comment on percentages?
Sure. So currently, as discussed, depending on which one of these 6 licenses an individual is operating under, again, under neither of the ordinances, or tonight, especially under 1415, the other ordinance, retail is still not considered, but depending on the 5 that we would have in Little Falls, or all 6 licenses in total, it is between 1 up to 2%, depending on the license, to the local municipality based upon the gross sales that business has. Again, still subject to some change, but under the current legislation, that's the understanding.
I just wanted to know what it was going to do. So everything is under consideration. I'd like to thank everyone for the information, communications that I've had with people at the street fair. And as I said, I've been here for 3 years. And would like to see community.
No, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us this evening. You're welcome. The floor is still open on 1416. And then we'll ask if those joining us from, yes, go ahead. Your name and address, please.
Good evening. Rosa Amika Terra on behalf of Local 464A, which is the property owners from 219 to 267 Patterson Ave.
Good evening.
We too would like to thank the mayor and council for voting this down, as we did not feel that this type of establishment would be appropriate in that area due to the proximity of residences as well as Little Falls Recreation Field. I will reserve my other comments in the letter when we discuss.
Yes, we received that. Thank you
Thank
for the record. Is there anyone here in the council chambers that would like to speak on 1416? Mr. Kusia, is there anyone from the public? I would guess we're going to say Zoom. Do we call it Zoom?
There was.
Okay, let's give them a moment. So those that are watching us from Zoom, if you would like to partake in this open public manner, do they know what to do?
Would you like me to read this? statement?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Members of the public who have joined the meeting virtually and desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the council president will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raised hand icon. Please give your name and address for the records. Once the process is complete, we'll return to the regular order of business.
Okay, so the floor is open for those that are attending by Zoom. Magna, the floor is open.
Yes, hi, thank you so much. Magda Powell, and I'm at 14 Ryle Avenue. And I would also like to thank the council and the mayor as well for voting no at this particular time for this. And I mean, I can only speak for myself. However, I don't think it's so much as an issue of having something like this in the town to bring in revenue. I think it's just the location of where it's going to go that is more of an issue. So as far as other locations, is there I guess they mentioned 46. Are there other locations in the town besides that area that are taken that are in consideration?
No, the only consideration is the second ordinance this evening, which would be the Route 46 corridor, our business zone.
Okay. That was just my question. And again, thank you, from those of us around the area.
Thank you for joining us. That's
Thank
good,
you.
good quality sound. Very good job, Nelson. Oh, thanks, Mayor. Jeez, okay. Anyone else would like to join us before we close on 1416? Go ahead, Mr. Fernandez.
It has to do with Luis Fernandez, still at Harrison Street. It has to do with this ordinance. I think you answered the question, but I just want to be specific and clear. This ordinance 1416, can it be revisited? Can it be reintroduced within a month, 2 months, 3 months? Well, what is the time period that we have to that the council has to reintroduce that ordinance?
Mayor, do you want to answer about, before we answer, right, government does have the ability to come back and,
At any time.
well, let's just say we came back and said, you know what, we don't want all 4 or 5 licenses, maybe, I'm not sure if this would work this way, but all 4 or 5 licenses, but we want 2 of those licenses. And we'd go back out to the public and say, listen, we just want to do a wholesaling on Patterson Ave.
All right. So my question is this: do you have any plans to reintroduce that in the near future?
As far as the council, I don't think that's going to be happening in the near future.
And just to briefly answer your question, if any 1, 2, or all 6 of the licenses were to be considered anywhere else in town, it would, or in the same zone, it would require a full new reintroduction
Right.
with a public reading, and then as well as a second reading with public comment and everything that you've seen happen with this particular
All right.
ordinance.
Thank you.
Right, but you raise an interesting concern, Mr. Fernandez, that, is government just passing this and come back the next week with 4 other licenses and then go down to 3 other licenses and 2 licenses and 1, but that's not from the dialogues that I've had with the council members and the mayor, that's not on the trajectory. But good question. Yes, the floor is still open at 1416.
Can you just clarify the difference between the 416 and 415? Because they're both relating to cannabis. I'm a bit confused in what we're talking.
So
about.
15 is going to be the second ordinance that's going to be discussed this evening. It concerns the same licenses, but it's going to be what we call our Route 46 corridor, allowing those licenses to be on Route 46.
Okay, and the 416 that we're talking about right now, what is that? Because
That's on, if you're familiar with Patterson Avenue,
Yeah,
it's a stretch of Patterson Avenue from the mechanic shop all the way to Route 46 on the left-hand
Okay.
side going towards Woodland Park.
all right, and they're both relating to the 6 licenses.
Correct.
Okay.
Just hold up. Did you say 6 licenses? I think,
I'm sorry,
Yes,
5
but
licenses.
they only, right, correct. They only address 5 of the 6.
Right.
Retail is not included in the B2 zone either.
just want to make sure.
I think I'm only familiar with one of the ordinances, so I'm a bit confused.
Well, we want to get you unconfused. Thank you for joining us. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing on 1416?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Kawadi, second.
So second.
You can't move in second.
Oh,
Second.
You said Kawhi.
You said
Sorry,
Kawadi,
did I
so
say
I'll
second?
second
I
it.
thought you didn't hear me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, these masks are throwing me off. a little bit. Let's roll that. The motion was made by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Kawadi. All those in forward of opposing from 1416 just signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Have a motion on ordinance 1416.
So moved.
Move to,
Move to reject, sorry.
the motion is to reject ordinance 1416. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilmember Quaddy's second to reject ordinance 1416. So as the council votes on 1416 at this time, if you vote yes, you are rejecting ordinance 1416. And I don't like to use the word dies, but it comes off and it's no longer a valuable ordinance. It gets killed. Okay, so all council members understand their vote at this time. This ordinance will not pass if you vote yes. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Have a motion to open to the public meeting for all public agenda items.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilmember Kawadi. All those in favor of moving for public agenda items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion, please signify by saying nay. Mrs. Kraus, read the statement.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President. Members of the public who have joined the meeting virtually and desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the Council President will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raise hand icon. Please give your name and address for the record. Once the process is complete, we will return to the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraus, for reading that statement. I do ask the public, if you have any concerns regarding ordinance 1415, that you hold that off until we get to 1415, because there'll be a public hearing on 1415. I know that's a little odd when we say public agenda items, but this is the way, in discussion with Councilor Friend today, but this is the way we have to do it. Okay, so the floor is open for public agenda items.
Good evening. Al
Good evening.
Antonisi, 27 Doobie Avenue.
Good evening.
First of all, I want to commend the mayor and the council for this hybrid meeting. And I believe you're going to keep it that way, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a great idea. Get a lot more people involved. So I commend all of you for it. I want to talk about ordinance 1417. But before I get into the particulars, I just need some clarification. Clarification has to do also with the fire department. At a recent meeting, Mr. Fernandez brought up.
Mr. Albanese,
Yeah.
we're going to have a public hearing on 1417. So if you would hold your comments till we get to 1417,
All right.
and we'll
I'm sorry.
entertain your, that's okay. It's a complicated, sometimes, I'm still getting used to it. It's been 5 years. So you just have to hold on and we'll get to you on 14. But if you have any other comments besides 1417, the floor is open. Besides ordinance 1417. Okay.
At a workshop meeting recently,
Mhm.
Mr. Fernandez brought up an issue that I have heard as well. that K&V Realty had expressed a desire of sorts to purchase the Enterprise Fire Building. Has anyone here on this council been made aware of overtures made by K&V? And if so, how do each of you council members feel about getting rid of something that's been in the town since 1903?
Mr. Adams, that's a decision that the fire department makes themselves. We have nothing to do with that. If they decide to sell their building, it's entirely up to themselves. If they want to stay there, that's entirely up to themselves. So we don't have
understand that.
nothing
My-
to
my
do, this
question
council
has nothing-
members.
My question is
Yeah.
not to do with who has the right
Right.
to sell. I
Yeah.
realize that lies with the individual house itself. My question only is whether or not any of you on the council have heard of overtures made by K&V for the purchase of that particular firehouse.
Yeah, so there's always rumors that circulate in town, but we have been part of no discussion regarding that.
So the answer is no.
The answer is no.
Thank you.
Council President, if you don't
Yes.
mind, Mayor Damiano, can you share what you shared at the workshop in response to that question that came in from an email from Mr. Fernandez that we don't know who was from, but can you address that?
Sure, yeah, my position, and I think the council shares in this sentiment, has been very clear from day one. And I think a very brief explanation as to the unique relationship that the municipality has with the fire department is very important here. Because although the municipality purchases vehicles that are utilized by the fire department is a completely separate entity. Each company is a completely separate entity from the municipality. And certainly, I have been made aware that there have been conversations between KV Realty and the fire department regarding its purchase. Certainly I've heard about them. I will say here, and I've said a million times in the past, and I think any fireman at Company 1 would attest to Company 2 would attest to the fact that I have stated no preference one way or the other as to what happens between the private negotiation between KV Realty and the company. And I say that because while they are certainly operating out of a firehouse that is functional, operational, no doubt, if KV Realty is willing to offer them a deal that provides them with a state-of-the-art facility that they would prefer to operate out of, that would be their pleasure to do that. And if KV Realty doesn't offer them a good enough deal to relocate to a new state-of-the-art facility, if that's what was discussed between them, then it's their pleasure to stay there. And whether or not they stay or they relocate, to myself, and I believe I can speak for the council just based upon my conversations with them, is really no, I guess what's the
You're
incorrect way to say it is,
You let
it doesn't
council-
matter to me one way or the other.
I got you. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Councilman Quadri, would you like to comment on that last question?
I actually would.
Go ahead, The floor is yours.
I'll take it a step further. I have the confidence that the people who volunteer to risk their lives for the community will make decisions based on what's best for the community. And since they have the power to make that decision, I'm comfortable that as long as they make that decision based on the safety of the residents of Little Falls, I'm in full support of whatever they decide. I don't know how much clearer I can say it than that. Because I do feel like we do have a dog in that fight, right? We do have an interest in the decision. Our interest is maintaining the safety of the residents of Little Falls. How that safety is maintained can be decided in this case, and it's appropriately being decided by the fire department. As long as that decision is being made with the safety of the residents in mind, I'm in full support of that.
Councilmember Havel, do you have any comment regarding that?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. The floor is still open for public agenda items. Mr. Kuchar, is there anyone from his hands up? Okay,
Sorry, Council President, there's a third. Someone is having, in the chat, they're having trouble with the
okay.
icon.
We'll give him a little time. We're not in a rush.
I know who it is.
Okay, Rory, I'm sorry, Rory Langen, the floor is open.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hi.
So, my name's Rory Lincoln. I live at,
Just state your address, please.
yeah, 1 Long Hill Road, apartment H6, Little Falls. So, I live in a townhouse.
And Rory, Mr. Longan, can you say it again? This way the clerk can capture it. She didn't quite get it. I heard Long Hill Road apartment, but
181 Long Hill Road, apartment H6, Little Falls.
Thank you.
So I live in the townhouses and I walk up Woods Road. Because if you go to that area, Mills Reservation. across. And there are multiple family houses built right next to a brand new housing development on Woods Road.
I'm sorry, sir. We're having a really difficult time hearing you, and for the record, this is going to be challenging to get this conversation in the record. Can you maybe move away from your mic a little bit?
Is this better?
All right, let's try it.
Okay, so I live in the townhouses. Is this still good? Or?
It's challenging to say the least. Go ahead.
Let me just check the microphone. Oh, this is weird. Yeah, I don't know. Should I call in somewhere else?
Okay, let's try it again. Go ahead.
What should I call in from somewhere else? Or
Yeah, are you on your computer, your phone?
my computer?
Council President, too, there's some people that are not on mute. That might be causing the issue as well, so. Okay.
For those that are on Zoom, can you try to mute yourself so we can get this conversation on the record?
Is this better now?
That is better.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so tell me if it's not anymore. I live in the Inwood townhouses and walk up the Wood Road every day because Mills Reservation is straight across.
No, I'm sorry. We unfortunately can't hear you correctly, so it would be incorrect for you to continue because we will not be able to get this on the record. And that's not right of us to do. So why don't you try, we're going to move to some other residents and we'll come back to you and see if you can fix that audio problem.
Council President, maybe Mr. Longan, can you put your question in the chat and we could read it off for you if that works because we're having trouble trying to get your audio?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next person. Yes, the floor is open.
Are we open to any comments and questions?
Wait, you got Mr. Sprague.
Miss Fraga?
Yes. My call. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to speak at this time. It's kind of like a general matter. It's just a little confusing with the public comment portions. So I wanted to talk about the geese. So am I allowed to speak at this time or I have to wait to a different public comment period?
Miss Fraga, did you say talk about the geese? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm from Animal Protection League of New Jersey.
Yes.
We were reaching out to the towns.
Ms. Fraga, you please hold off to the second public comment. This is for agenda items and we'll come back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Paul, I'm sorry we don't have your last name on the screen, but the floor is open, sir.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's kind of rough, but go ahead.
Sorry, I'll try to speak softer. I live at 74 First Ave. I had a recently disappointing incident, which I articulated to Mayor Damiano over the phone and in writing. Will this be the time I mention it? I've never gone to a town meeting.
Okay. Is this an agenda item, sir? Or is this a general matter?
It's a general matter, but once you hear me, you'll conclude it affects all Little Falls residents, and it's a genuine, heartfelt concern. I'm a caregiver for somebody, and I just am trying to say what I want to say before I have to get back to helping that individual.
So you have to leave, is what you're saying? You have to go somewhere right now?
No, they're housebound. They live in my house here at 74 First Ave. It's my wife, but I just wanted to state something, and I was hoping to get that in sooner rather than later. I can never really leave her for a long period of time. She's got.
Sir, we'll make an exception here because of your of the physical capability of your wife. But please state your last name for the record.
Sure. My name's Paul Margitich, and as I say, I live at 74 First Ave. And thank you for making that exception. So in recent memory, on May and in June, I called for a lift assist for my wife, who has huge mobility issues and who's been chronically sick for years, to help get her out of the house, to put her onto a pulse transport vehicle to go to Dr. Giordano, a dentist next to Maggie's Town Tavern. Everybody knows where that is, right? So those concerned on those dates helped magnificently. And I would like to state that the way I found out they could help me, I thought I was on my own, was I appealed to recently departed, in terms of professionally, not physically, Jack Sweezy. And he said, Paul, I've been into your house on emergency calls. I know you have it so rough. I feel sorry for you. I want you not to worry. I'll get you help. And there is no charge. A lift assist is part of the services you receive as a taxpayer. Thank you, Lord. So those people who helped on those dates were kind and compassionate. They helped my wife with expertise and caring. And two of them went extremely out of their way on free time to help my wife because they felt so sorry for her. She almost died 8 times in 10 years. I hope none of you ever experienced that with your significant other or your spouse. So, and I told Mayor Damiano in a call, and I wrote a note. I extolled the virtues of Liz, Casey, Riley, and Kevin. I said how kind Jack Sweezy was, and remembering Ronnie Cordero, how great he was. He always asked about my wife. Jumping now to my experience on the 22nd of this month, I went to the firehouse to give them a couple of goodies and a donation they were soliciting. So I wanted to do it in person. And at the time I asked, can we set up a lift assist again for the 22nd? Well, they said you have to call now Captain Mike Bondersky. Okay, so I got his number and I called him. First thing out of his mouth was, well, you know, sir, we only provide emergency assistance. And I said, but that's not what I was told by Mr. Cordero and Sweezy. So we need that to be clarified. And I would like to think that if one of you or your spouse had trouble getting in and out of the house on their own power, that the EMTs would step up to the plate and have a little compassion and just help her onto a chairlift. Then the pulse guy takes over and we call you later to help her back in. So on the 22nd, the EMTs arrived, or a guy named Second Lieutenant John Pasquariello, somebody with Tariq Carella, I believe, and Captain Bondarchik. First thing out of their mouth was, why do we have to be here? Can't you get Pulse to carry your wife down the stairs? You know, sir, this is a emergency only service. And here's the kicker. We have to watch our backs, you know. We can't be lifting people. Well, then you shouldn't be an EMT, or the captain shouldn't be a fireman. Then they bungled helping her out of the house, making her feel like, excuse the expletive, piece of SHIT, Mayor Damiano. When I spoke to you on the phone, I swore quite a bit. Forgive me, that's not like me. But I was very angry. I hope you read my email I sent you the other day. It's genuine and factual. Maybe you can read it to the council members or send it to them. So we got my wife onto the transport. She goes to Dr. Giordano, gets her teeth doctored up. We call for them Pulse to bring her back. They bring her back. Called for the EMTs to help her back. They come again with an attitude like they're doing us a favor. Mr. Pasquariello says, I've been doing this job 15 years. I'm going to say it, but don't cut me off. He didn't know his ass from his elbow. They dropped my wife on the floor in my house. She's already almost died 8 times, has sugar issues, other issues, and broke her right femur last year. Yet the diminutive Liz from Wilmore House and Casey, women, how strong can they be, got my wife in and out of the house like there was no problem. And they kept complaining that they had to watch their backs. They kept complaining that it's not an emergency issue and that we should find some other way to help my wife. And when Second Lieutenant calls the firehouse to get maybe a few compassionate firemen to help my wife, they all declined to come. I think there are 4, maybe 5 firehouses in town. Did they all have pressing duties that they couldn't help a poor woman who would love to walk again, just get into her house and go back to her wheelchair? Now, my wife's been crying. She's been re-injured, and we're never going to use the township's service again. I'm going to find a private way to do this. I don't know why Sweezy left, but this much I know. He cared enough to help my wife without fawning all over her. Very professional. He got the EMTs to help her. They helped her. I would expect any Little Falls resident can get that help. And having heard what I said, would you stand for it if your wife, spouse, significant other got treated like skata? That's a word for crap in another language. You should all be ashamed that you allow this stuff to go on. I hope whoever replaces Chief Sweezy has the mindset that, hey, we got to help our own. Or by God, what if there's a visitor? You're going to need help? We help them. We're not asking them to come paint our house. Help the woman out of our house and help her back in. If I hadn't caught my wife when Mr. Pasquariello, the bungler, dropped her, she might have broken another bone. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I hope you do something about it. This is wrong. However you change things is wrong. My wife was treated poorly. I'm looking at 7, 8, 9, 10 of you right now. I hope none of this ever happens to you. You don't deserve it. None of you. And Mr. Pasquariello and Bondersky have a poor attitude and need to vacate their spots, and they need a checkup from the neck up from people who want to serve. By God, they should serve, because it could be them the next time. I know if I had their job, I would help somebody in and out of their house and show a little compassion, which they clearly did not. I hope I said enough. There's a lot I'm missing. I could have read my letters to Mayor Damiano. He'll fill you in. You can share those emails, Mr. Mayor. That's okay. Share them with everybody. And then check in to see if everything I said is not 100% true. You'd flip out if it happened to somebody you love. You'd flip out. That's it.
This, it's very disturbing to hear that this.
It should be.
Sorry that this happened to you under the circumstance. We always pride ourselves on our EMT program. I'm sure the mayor is looking into this diligently and to find out what happened and to fix that so it never happens again. Mayor, do you have any further comments regarding this?
Yeah, the only comment that I have is that our emergency services in town are typically utilized in the events of emergencies and not typically utilized for scheduled calls. Understanding that, today, in light of the conversations that we have recently had, I had a conversation with Mr. Cuccia here, the business administrator, earlier today, about potentially implementing a program in town where if individuals in town know that they are going to need assistance at specific times, we may be able to bring in crews in order to assist with those types of incidents. Because during the period of time when these types of services are being provided by the EMS ambulance that's on that particular time, it's out of service in case there's another emergency. So what I was looking to do was potentially implement a program where we can schedule this type of assistance in town while continuing to have an ambulance available and in service the entire time. So I'm certainly looking into all of the other concerns that you've had. We're in the process of getting reports, and I'm sorry to hear what you went through and the emotional roller coaster that it was.
Well, you know what? The late Chief Cordero, God rest his soul, and Chief Sweezy told me that that exact function is paid for by our tax dollars. So either they were lying or you're telling me something that's not correct. You see, how do I know better? I would like to think that anybody who lives in this town, Mr. Mayor, let's say you had a grandmother you were caring for and she needed a lift assist just to go to the doctor. I mean, come on. I'm not asking for anything extraordinary. So I guess Chief Cordero and Sweezy were lying to me when they said that service is covered under our taxes. I guess they were lying to me, right? That's what you're saying?
No, that's not at all what I said. What I said is that I was looking to implement a program that would facilitate and assist the exact concern that you had. And I didn't say anything about sending you a bill or charging you an astronomical amount for that service. All that I indicated was I would like to be able to provide that exact service while at the same time having an ambulance that also remains available to assist someone who might have an emergency during that time. So looking to essentially have the best of both sides is really what I'm looking to do here in this situation. And again, I understand and I certainly sympathize with the emotions that, this caused for you. But again, looking to, be able to assist you as well as continue to provide an ambulance to the residents is something that, again, this incident unfortunately has necessitated at least a conversation for.
Well, you know what? Again, I'm just surprised if they couldn't do it and they were just saying something. You know what? I don't believe Chief Cordero and Sweezy were saying anything wrong. I would certainly like to think that anyone in town who needs a rare instance of help can get it. You know what? But you need to give these guys a good ass kicking, because if you saw that happen to your wife or your husband or your loved one, you would flip a gasket. I never swear. I was a reader at St. John the Baptist on Weaver Street for years. I don't swear. I was so mad I couldn't stop.
Sir, with all due respect, we really don't like to hear those words in this council chamber.
I'm sorry.
Other words. You can pick other words. You can only imagine if all residents started to go down that path. It's not something that I like to see happen. So in this form, I would just please use other language.
I'll curtail that stuff. Sorry. You got it. But anyway, the township needs to provide this service to everyone. We don't think we're special. Everybody who lives in this town, even a visitor who needs a little help, should get it. Now, because I don't trust the Wilmore squad, I'm going to dig into my pocket. I'm 56. I have to retire at 52 to care for my wife, and I'm living on slightly more than fumes. I'm going to hire somebody privately to help her because I don't want jokers like that coming to my house again. See, I was almost a widower 8 times in 10 years. Let's see how well any of you would handle that.
Is there anything else, sir, you'd like to say this evening?
I hope to God you do something and don't just yes me to death, because that has to change. That whole business has to change. People need help. People need help, and you need to have a heart to help them.
Thank you for telling us this, your personal situation. We are not a yes council that people come up here and we just say yes. This is a very active council, and I could tell you probably first thing this evening or tomorrow morning, the mayor is going to get a call from each council member and seeing what can be done about this program and what should be done and what can't be done. So thank you for sharing your unfortunate troubles with us this evening.
I appreciate it. Thank you for looking into it. We pay our taxes. We ask for reasonable services. I don't think what I told you is out of line. What I'm asking for you guys to do is out of line. I hope you all have that service when you need it. And all of you, please stay healthy and take care of yourselves. And if you get sick, make sure your spouse looks after you so you don't go through what I've been going through. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I want to apologize to the residents as we look up. There's screens up in front of us and we're looking up, not to be unpolite to those in the reds, but we have to look up in order to see the individuals talking from the Zoom. No other hands raised. Did we want to, hold on one second. Let's just, everybody just calm down. We're not going nowhere. Okay. We run this meeting as we always do, highly professional, right? Nobody steps out of order. Okay. Councilman Vanchery, you'd like to say something?
Actually, Mr. Langan has, I believe, responded in the chat.
Yes.
So that's why we
Very
forgot
good.
to address the
Okay.
question.
Do we have that question in the chat that can be read? Go ahead. Please read it.
There is a dangerous pedestrian crossing when you cross from Woods Road, across Long Hill Road to Glen Rock Road. Families, children cross that, and it is uniquely blind curve. The only thing that will prevent fatal crashes is flashing pedestrian crossing light and a crosswalk. The county engineer deemed it town's responsibility. Can you construct that crosswalk?
Okay. So, Councilman Vanchery, you're the Transportation Committee. Woods Road, I'm sorry, what was the Woods Roads intersecting into what road? Was Long Hill?
He said Glen Rock Road.
Did he say Glen Rock?
Yeah.
Woods Road across Long Hill Road
Long
to
Hill,
Glen
okay.
Rock Road.
Right. So that's, if I'm not mistaken, the residents, as you come let's say we're all headed towards Montclair State University, correct? All right, we're in our car, we're headed to Montclair State University. We're going up Long Hill Road and we approach the bend where that little rock formation is on our left, correct? Woods Roads comes up on our left, is that correct? Glen Rock is across the street on the right, right? This is the area where as cars come around, it is a little bit tough to see as cars come around that bend. We had this discussion, Mayor and council members with engineers in trying to maybe figure out something there, but that was quite a challenging, I recall, situation. But Councilman Vanchery, were you in on that conversation?
No, actually, Mayor Damiano was leading that charge at the time with Chief Post. I wasn't involved in that Woods Road discussion. I know you guys met with Chuck Silverstein at one point. There was an email that came through last year. I wasn't involved in it, sorry.
No, I think not. I think I was. I think that was with H2M. And I spoke to former Mayor Lindsay regarding this. And it was, let me circle back with that. Let me get my notes out. And if we could get the resident's phone number, we did look into this and there were some challenges between the county, I think, or there were some situations with the shoulder. I don't recall exactly what, but I did have a conversation with H2M regarding that blind spot. So we'll get back to you. Is there anyone else?
Council President, maybe the resident can send the clerk an email tomorrow with his information and phone number, and it can be forwarded for you to contact him.
Can you, if hopefully you're listening, if you could send that email out. If not, we'll have staff reach out to you and get that information. Is he?
He did state in there, I also think I fixed my microphone.
Yeah.
You could ask him to unmute or.
Okay, let's try it. Roy, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, so I think I did speak to Chuck Silverstein, and he said that I think you guys could do it. And yeah, and I talked to the Public Works Department too. So is this better? But
No, Roy, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's my hearing, but it's really challenging to hear you. It's really mumbled. Sir?
He's asking,
So,
Council President, he's
sir,
asking for the,
just forward us your email and we'll get back to you. We have your question in the chat.
Council President, he asked for the clerk's email address. I'll just provide it on the
Okay,
record.
yes.
It's, Madam Clerk, can I provide it?
It's C Kraus, it's CKRAUS@lfnj.com.
Thank you.
Council President.
Yes,
can you also
Councilmember Vanchery.
put it in the chat maybe to make it easier in case it didn't capture it? Can you just make it easier?
Is there anyone else for agenda items only under public hearing? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to close the public comment for under the public hearing agenda items?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Kawadi, second by Councilmember Havelitz. All those in favor and close to the public hearing, comment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Kawadi, second by Councilmember Vanchery. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll on the consent agenda.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, Mrs. Kraus, at this time, please read ordinance 1415.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1415, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 280, entitled Zoning.
Thank you. Have a motion to open to the public hearing on 1415.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Kawadi, second
Second.
by Councilmember, I can hear you. Second by Councilmember Vanchery. All those in favor, open to the public on 1415, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. The floor is now open on 1415. Is there anyone on Zoom?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Hopefully we can hear him correctly. Mr. Giordano? Can you hear?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, the floor is open, sir, on 1415. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Hugh Giordano, and I'm a representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW Local 152. The UFCW is a national labor union of 1.3 million working families, and UFCW Local 152 and UFCW Local 36 are the official labor union of New Jersey cannabis workers. And we want to say thank you for supporting good jobs in Little Falls. We hope that going forward, not only in permitting zoning, that you will follow the city of Bayonne's leadership. In their ordinance, they have a merit-based application system. And that merit-based application system looks at things such as labor standards, security standards, environmental standards, local ownership, and other standards that protect working class people. We would hope that Little Falls would take that into consideration, specifically for the major players that are coming in from out of state, specifically those from Colorado, Washington, California, Oregon, and even Canada at this point. They're billion-dollar companies at this point, and we need to make sure that the working class people of Little Falls are protected. And the way to do that is through a merit-based application system. Also, if you would like a tour of the facility, we can give you a tour of the Garden State Dispensary in Woodbridge, which is a vertically ran facility from seed to sale. So that way you can see the whole process, and you can see how professional these union members are of the UFCW. And we hope that you'll take us up on that. Once again, thank you for supporting good jobs, and we hope that you'll make them good union jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano, for joining us this evening. You also sent us an email to this regard, a letter. Is that not correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. The floor is still open on 1415.
Hi, my name's Ken Kimmel.
Yes, Mr. Kimball?
Hi, 13 Shore Court.
Good, thank you.
Seems we got a bit of an echo.
Yeah.
If you can hear me, setting aside union workers and the jobs are created, et cetera. One of my concerns for the industry itself in New Jersey is that it's still, as far as the federal government is concerned, it's still illegal. So that's a concern if you have a change in administration that decides to enforce the federal law that prohibits cannabis. And I just, for a 2.5 square mile town, which is what we are, competing against the likes of Patterson, which is proceeding towards, in a significant way, towards, the growing, processing, et cetera, of cannabis. I just don't know why it would be in our best interest at the moment, or at all, really, for our town to go down this path. I don't see how it's going to create a great deal of jobs or income for Little Falls. So that's why I oppose it. And setting aside whether or not you're for the legalization, et cetera, I just don't know that, I think we need to take it under more significant consideration, especially where we zone it, where we would place it, or if it even benefits our town in the long run. Especially since it's such a polarizing topic, quite honestly. Those who are against it are significantly against it, and those are for it or very for it. So I think that the town council should take that into consideration. So I guess my question is, what is the path forward since we rejected the first ordinance? Where is the town council headed? Do you feel that there is a place for cannabis in Little Falls?
Mr. Campbell, I'm having a really difficult time hearing you, but I think you're opposed to ordinance 1415, and your question is, what goes on now? 1415 is going to come up for a vote, and that would allow the licenses to be allowed in our Route 46 corridor in our business zone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, so
I think you're picking up an echo.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we're we've had some residents that have come out really clear, and others that we're having a really challenge with the voice this evening. So it's been a challenge to hear your statements. I did catch. I think you're really just opposed to the 1415, and you want to know what benefits these licenses would create to our township. Is that your?
Yeah, other than the the small dollar amount, I know the 2% tax would create. I mean, what real benefit do you see for Little Falls, considering the other major townships that are taking a large role in this? such as Patterson and other townships and cities.
Sorry, did council members, you have to help me out because I couldn't really hear the statement. Did anyone hear what he was asking?
He wants to know why Little Falls is considered something like this, knowing that Patterson is already going to probably get staken.
So thank you, Mr. Kemmel, for your comments and joining us this evening. We feel that in our business zone, to allow these licenses would give an opportunity for the township to make revenue, as well as also probably fill in the void, if any, when the rents of those stores come up for rent. The township, keep in mind, and also keep in mind that the township voted 2-for-1 for this in support of this law that is now law, but also would fill possibly the gap of unrented stores on our corridor. Does any other council member like to have comments to this? Mayor, do you have any other comment to 1415?
Sure, much like you said, the township is always looking for new ways to generate revenue. And the options or the new ways to generate revenue are becoming more and more unlimited every single year as we exercise or find what I believe are most of the other ways that we can stay afloat. And this is very unique because the only other way that the township generates revenue from businesses in town is simply by the property taxes that each of those businesses pays based upon the size of the space that they have or the assessment of the building. It's the only way that a township generates money from a particular business in that sense, because we do not receive a percentage of any other type of industry or any other type of businesses, sales. I often hear, well, that business is going to be great for the town. It's going to really increase the taxes you collect. And that's incorrect when people state that, because the only taxes that a town collects are on the assessed property value and the property taxes that we collect. Of course, there's other ways we generate revenue, whether it be courts is one way through some fines oftentimes. Our business department generates revenues on permits. There are a number of other ways that municipalities generate revenues, but this is a new and very unique way that the township can generate new revenues. And allowing these 5 of the 6 licenses, again, retail being the exception, I believe that it's a new way and a way that will, I think, really give part of the Route 46 corridor a facelift. Some parts of it can certainly use a new building, can certainly use a facelift. And again, while I understand the concerns that residents had allowing it across the street from the recreation center, this is a zone where, again, with the exception of Passaic Valley and the 1,000-foot buffer that there will be existing along the highway, this is an area where I don't believe that there will be many, if any, residents whatsoever affected by one of these businesses operating here in Little Falls. Again, that's if one of these businesses or operators actually chooses Little Falls as their home. And that's a big if.
So thank you for your comment, sir. Yeah.
So if that's such a big if, I'm just sort of curious why we're proceeding with this. It just, especially since it's such an unregulated substance at this point, there is no federal or state regulation for any of this, for its growing, for the effluents that it produces, for the smells, the odors, for any of that. I think it's a Pandora's box, quite honestly, and I just don't believe it is something a small town like Little Falls should be entering into. And that's just my opinion. I think it's a huge liability for just such a small return. So I think you should take that into consideration.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. The record will note your opposition to 1415 with your concerns. Is there anyone else who would like to talk on 1415? The floor is open.
You also have
I'm
someone
sorry.
in person.
Yeah, go ahead, miss. You could come up. They'll have to wait. Go ahead. You could come up.
I have a
Your
comment.
name again, please.
Vanessa Plaza, 9 Woodset Avenue.
Thank you.
So I just kind of, the comments that I made for 1416, I believe I meant to do it for this ordinance for 1415. I want to repeat that I'm really requesting.
Excuse me. Can you bring the mic a little bit down so we can hear you
Yeah.
better? It's hard with the mask.
No, it's okay. I'm really requesting that we extend the 1,000-foot buffer of schools to include recreational facilities and daycare centers. And that's my only one request, but the rest I kind of just want to do commentary. I do agree with Mr. Kimmel's comments about the testing, the lack of testing. I am concerned about how these facilities are going to test for or use pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, specifically myclobutanil. I believe California had a really big issue with that. I don't believe that this will create great revenue. I know that Oregon had an oversupply issue that did not meet demand, and anyone who runs a business know that you have to demand has to meet supply, vice versa. If it were up to me, I would be in full support of there being a full ban of no marijuana businesses, but I'm okay with this ordinance. So the only request that I asking is that there be a 1,000 extension buffer for the recreational facilities and daycares.
Okay, so just a little bit confused because you said you would support a full ban, but yet you're okay with 14, 15. So
Yes, so I mean, personally, I would be in support of a full ban, but I am saying that, you know, considering like the residents' requests and hearing everyone's thoughts, you know, there are people that want marijuana businesses to operate, create jobs. So I'm saying that kind of just want to separate the personal and the one, like the commentaries. I want to separate my personal commentaries and the one request to extend the 1,000 foot buffer.
right. So thank you for your comments. You know, we have to do that all the time to put our personal aside and look what the voters are requiring us to do and what they would like to see happen. Even though we may not like the idea or appreciate the idea, we're here to represent the whole entire township of Little Falls, not just one community, not just one street, but the entire town. We thank you for your comments. Mayor, you want to say something about 1,000 foot buffer?
Sure, Council President.
Go ahead.
And in reference to ordinance 1415, paragraph 17 specifically states that within the B2 district, no establishments duly licensed by the state of New Jersey for cannabis as defined above shall be located closer than 500 feet from a similar establishment. Additionally, no establishments duly licensed by the state of New Jersey for cannabis as defined above shall be located closer than 1,000 feet from any school building.
Correct.
Right.
So
It's
that does
not-
not include recreational facilities or
no.
daycares. That's
No,
what
it's just
No,
the
but
school
the-
facilities.
I will tell you that the B2 zone, if I had to guess, if it wasn't exactly 1,000 feet from the Little Falls Recreation Facility, it would probably be within 50 feet of that one way or the other. It would be relatively close to the 1,000 foot buffer that you're asking for.
So you're saying it's because this is the map and I can't really tell if it really is the proximity of it to the recreational facility.
Right. So what happens is that if a business decides that they want to open up and they're not within that 1,000 foot, the planning board probably, I can't speak for the planning board, but I would think probably the planning board will not give that variance. So they will not be able to open up in that capacity. You got to keep in mind, Route 46 has that whole corridor. So that's where it stands. You have to be more than 1,000 feet away.
Right. And I don't know if there are any daycare facilities along that. I know there's one
Yeah.
kind of like across from the recreational facility.
Right.
So,
This
and the
does not
1,000 foot
include,
buffer is roughly like 2 blocks.
right. This does not include daycare centers.
Correct.
I
And
know,
Ms.
that's
Apostle,
why I'm making that
daycare
point.
facilities are not permitted within the B2 district. So if it was allowed, if there was one there, it would certainly need a number of variances to be there in the first place.
Right, but it looks like the B3 that is right next to B2, if there were a daycare facility in the B3 area, like 2 blocks within, like I don't think it would be a big deal just to add that 1,000 foot buffer. Right around B2 is B3, L1, R1B, R2. So that is like around that B2 area. You need a copy of this?
Are you talking up as you get up towards Great Notch?
No, I'm talking about that specifically like by the B3 area. I can't tell by the map, but I don't know if it includes that, like the recreational facility and the daycare that's near it.
Okay, I'm trying to visualize the 46 corridor.
Yep,
If we
46,
start,
B2.
I don't see where, Chief, could you help us out? Would you see any daycare facilities in that zone? I don't. No,
No?
no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's by ShopRite, so.
Because B3 says office business.
Right.
So would that include daycares or?
The daycares can't open up, as you heard the mayor say, on the 46 corridor. But
Mhm.
you're saying in the B3 zone, if there was an office building, do we have one where one would open up? Is that office building towards Great Notch? Is that in the B2 zone on our next to Little Falls Trophy Shop? There's an office building.
I don't think,
Yes, yeah. Is that considered like B2? Do we know? That's probably B2 zone because that's right on 46 parking lot. Yeah.
Council President, you referring to the urgent care center?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's an urgent care. That is one office building that possibly, if it's not in the B2 zone, could a daycare center operate there? Mr. Kushia, do you know where that building is? Is that 211, Chief? 201, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, and even if there were to be a business that opens up around the area, it could open up right next door to a recreational facility. So it would be a preventive measure just to even
Right.
include the 1,000 foot buffer.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, these businesses that come before, they have to go before the planning board and would ask, and the planning board would take that all into consideration. But at the current time, that's not in our ordinance.
Okay.
All right, thank you. The floor is still open for 1415. Okay, Mr. Kilpatrick? Mr. Kilpatrick, can you hear us? He's muted. Mr. Kilpatrick, I think you're muted. I think you're muted. Yeah. He is muted. Mr. Kilpatrick, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mr. Kilpatrick, we can hear you. Are you a resident or are you talking on behalf of the planning board as chairman?
My name is Paul Patrick. I live at 6 Oak Tree Lane. I am a resident who coincidentally is the planning board chairman.
Okay.
I'm getting a little feedback. Can you hear me okay?
Mr. Kilpatrick, we're having a hard time hearing you. Can you lean back maybe?
Sure, how's that?
Okay, that's better. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
My question is this, Mr. Council President, and you may want to direct it to the attorney. And that is under Article 31B of the Cannabis Act. It's stated that if a municipality does not act in 180 days, which I believe is August 21, then all classes would be permitted conditional uses in L1 zones, LI zones for 5 years. Is that true?
Mr. Kilpatrick, it was a hard time hearing you, Counselor. I guess you didn't hear that, Counselor, correct? Counselor Friend, did you hear that question?
I think I can help clarify.
Okay. Mayor, you want to clarify?
Sure,
Because it was
Mr.
kind of difficult for the
Mr.
counselor to hear that.
So Patrick was trying to confirm that under 31B of the Cannabis Act, if no action is taken by a municipality, that the use of the licenses is permitted as a conditional use, or all of them are permitted as conditional uses within municipality.
Counselor, would you like to answer that, please? Yes, go ahead. You want to answer that? No, you don't want to answer that. Or yes?
I can't hear him.
I think,
Yes, to speak into the mic.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Counselor, can you speak into the microphone? But I think Mr. Kilpatrick's question was, if we don't take no action, then the state has the right to do what they want to do. I think that's your question, Mr. Kilpatrick.
And that would be for a period of 5 years.
Hold on a second, Mr. Kilpatrick, I'm sorry, just give us a moment. The counselor's going to respond. I'm sorry, go ahead. If you could bring that mic closer, Counselor.
If you don't take any action by August 22nd, then you're prohibited from taking action after that date for a period of 5 years.
Okay, was that your question, Mr. Kilpatrick?
Partially.
Okay, go ahead. Let's clear it up.
I also understand that all classes would then be permitted conditional use in LI zones for 5 years.
Having a hard time hearing them.
Councilor, I indicated that all uses would then, all of the licenses would be then conditional uses.
Right,
which is accurate.
if we don't take action.
For 5 years.
Correct.
Correct. So for the,
If that is so, then it would behoove the municipality to adopt something. And
Correct.
approve some of the 6 licenses.
correct. And that's what we're attempting to do this evening. So for those that had a difficulty hearing Mr. Kilpatrick, let me just kind of repeat, and Mr. Kilpatrick, stay with me as I try to summarize what you said. That if a governing body doesn't take any action by August 22nd, that the state will come in and take action on their own and do what they need to see as they see fit. Is that correct?
No, it's just that retail sales would be unconditional allowed use.
I'm
I'm not saying the state will take over. I'm saying the state is mandating that for 5 years, all uses would be allowed.
That's correct, right. So that's why it behooves governments to take action on passing whether they want any licenses or some part of licenses and to take effect before the 22nd.
That is correct, and that keeps us from being defensive.
Thank you. Okay.
I'd like to ask a
Councilman,
question. So
okay, through the chair, Councilman Guadi, you want to comment on 1415?
I don't know if the counselor or Mr. Kuchar or the mayor is the best person to answer this, but one of you I'm sure can. We are about to take action on the B2 zone. By doing that, does that mean we have now taken action on the entire township? Or do we have to do it by individual zone? Okay.
By establishing that you allowed it as a conditional use in the only in the B2 zone, it precludes it from all of the other zones.
Okay. And the language, we're confident that the language in this ordinance as we're passing, as we're going to vote on it tonight, does that.
Yes.
It says specifically only.
Only, right.
Okay. Because in light of Mr. Kilpatrick's, and I served on the planning board with Mr. Kilpatrick, I know how knowledgeable he is about what's done in town. In light of his comments, it may, I didn't memorize the ordinance to remember if the word only was in there or not. So I'm happy to find out, and I think it satisfies Mr. Kilpatrick's concern that when we take action on this, we are now protecting ourselves in the way that he is suggesting we should. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Kilpatrick, did you hear Councilman Guadi's response or comment?
I did. And that is correct.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that forward to us. Would you like to 1415?
Rosa Amica Terra. I'm an attorney for Local 464A. As Council President noted, we did submit correspondence. You have received it. We, just to reiterate what we had put in that correspondence, that cannabis continues to be illegal at the federal level. We have security concerns. We also are concerned about safety hazard associated with cannabis processing, risks of explosions or fires, as well as environmental hazards, such as the runoff and the odors. And it's just our position that the risks outweigh any benefits to allowing any type of cannabis production or processing in the municipality. Thank you.
Your concerns will be duly noted, Counselor. Thank you for coming before us this evening. However, I will say the planning board, we have all the confidence in the world if an applicant was to come before this township, that the due diligence will be done on behalf of the planning board to make sure that the town is protected by the rights of the laws that have been presented from the state as well as our local ordinances. It's open 1415.
Luis Fernandez, Harrison Street. I think it's a little, from what I understand, and this is regarding ordinance 1415. From what I understand, it's a little bit disheartening when we don't have legislation on marijuana. So how how can anybody implement a fine or anything if we don't have any legislation at this point?
What do you mean by legislation?
The state government is still working on what the fines will be in case, you know, they don't follow the law and things like that. Nothing has been written yet. And this is what I understand. It has been approved, but no penalties has been, the penalties have not been assessed yet. They're still, from what I understand, working on them. So nothing has been finalized. So how can anybody implement something that has not been finalized? That is beyond my, I can't believe it.
Mr. Fernandez, the state has given us until August 22nd to implement a plan. So that's what we're going to be doing here this evening. As far as your comments, I don't know if those comments are regarding the retail consumption.
They're regarding everything.
Well, when you say fines, I don't understand if someone
Suppose
was,
somebody breaks the law by, I don't know, not putting the right source fans or whatever.
well, that, sir, would come under a local ordinance that Nelson, I think we have an issue. That would come under our local ordinances as we have now with signage, et cetera, that if there was odors or if there was problematic problems with the facility, if there was problematic problems with the facility, that they would get fined. So no different than if
But who's
you
gonna
are,
implement the fines, the state or the?
no, we would have, I'm sure the state would have their own fines that they would implement and the local ordinances, we would have our own fines. Okay.
That's where it gets a little,
Well, we appreciate your comments. I'm sorry to the public that we lost our signal.
They're on.
We're still on?
It's just us.
It's just here.
Oh, it's just, here. Okay, all right. Everybody just, okay, so we're gonna move to close on 14:15. I have a motion to close the public hearing on 1415.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Kawadi,
Second.
second by Councilmember Vanchery. All those in favor of closing on 1415 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. This motion now carries.
Council President, before the vote is taken, just to be very clear on the record, the B3 district, what is permitted in the B3 district is business, professional, and governmental offices, banks without drive-ins, eating and drinking establishments where food and drink are served in the building, and business signs complying with Article 17. It does not permit daycares.
So there would be no daycare facilities in that area. Okay, thank you, Mayor, for looking up that information for us and sharing that. At this time, this governing body is going to take a vote on ordinance 1415. Have a motion to adopt 1415.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Abbott, second by Councilmember Kawadi. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll on 1415.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mrs. Kraus, read ordinance 1417.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1417, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending the Little Falls Fire Division in the Code of the Township of Little Falls, Code Section 3-7.8, entitled Fire Division.
Thank you. Have a motion to open to the public hearing on 1417.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Kawadi. All those in favor of opening to the public hearing on 1417 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. The floor is now open on 1417. If anyone's here would like to speak, please do so on 1417.
Al Atenisi, 27 Dewey Avenue, Little Falls. Having heard this evening from the mayor that a meeting is planned for August the 4th, I believe, with the chiefs, and will that also include the membership as well? Meeting with the fire department,
It's intended to include a couple of representatives from each company.
couple of reps from each company. So, well, really, I guess then my questions are basically, I'd like to find out after the meeting how the representatives who are representing the entire group feel about these issues. Under the ordinance, you note that the town, I noted that the town pays a rental fee for the storage of equipment. The equipment, in effect, and rightfully so, belongs to the town, which gives the town the right to move that equipment wherever it feels necessary. That being the case, what criteria would be used to make such a decision, would it be in consultation with the various firehouses which would be directly affected? My first question. Second question is that there's mention of the fire chief and the number of terms, consecutive terms, that he or she may serve. Under the current writing of the ordinance, no more than 2 consecutive terms. The fire department being an independent, quasi-independent, who basically writes a lot of their own rules and regs. Why is this ordinance putting term limits rather than leaving it up to the membership to determine? I've been here for 46 years. I can't remember one chief who did not serve more than 2 consecutive terms. And my last question is that the ordinance also talks about the makeup of the department, and it states membership is set at 100 active members. I understand we don't have 100 active members, and I can understand why an ordinance, or even the fire department for that matter, would say, listen, we don't want more than 100, unless we have a sudden burst in population or whatever. My concern here is that it doesn't mention each firehouse also, in addition to active members, they have a designation of lifetime members. And some of those lifetime members are also active members. But the reason I think discussion needs to be held, or questions if I were a chief, I don't want, those people are entitled to vote on very crucial issues of the fire department. I hope the wording as it's written does not disenfranchise those lifetime members. Now, I don't know, I'm not going to be at the meetings, or else I'd ask the questions and see what the chiefs have to say. But I hope they read it the same way I do. And I know they may have the same concerns I do. And after that meeting is held, I'll come back and ask this body for their responses on those particular points. Thank you.
Mayor, those questions are really directed all at you, but I do want to comment, Mr. Anthony's, that the information that once the mayor does meet with the chiefs, whatever information he could dislodge or disclose to us, the council members and the public, he will do so. I mean, there's nothing that's secret here.
No, I realize that.
That meeting, we're hoping as a council body that that meeting takes place so we can bring this back. I'm going to make a motion to table this, but that the mayor does have that meeting, we can bring this back for a vote on August 9th. But Mayor, would you like to address those 3 questions?
Sure. First and foremost, as far as the control of the equipment, the fire department has operational control of the equipment. So it is up to the fire department and the chief to determine the operational uses of each of the apparatus that the township purchases. With respect to the terms for the chiefs.
Mayor, I don't mean to mince words, but I'm talking about ownership, you're talking about operational control. As an owner, doesn't the town implicitly have the right to move its equipment?
No, the fire chief, right, the same right the municipality's always had. This ordinance is no different than the prior, but no, the fire chief would ultimately decide which apparatus runs out of which building.
Out of which building?
Correct.
All right, fine, that settles that.
But again, there's no modification to the ordinance from the prior ordinance that's been here since 2008, I believe. At least 2000, I think the prior ordinance was drafted 2006 or 2008, and maybe 2000 is back, maybe as far back as 2006. There's no change to that portion. As far as terms for chiefs, it's certainly something that is, again, proposed in this ordinance that is different from the prior ordinance. If you look from town to town and surrounding towns, more so, and obviously in volunteer departments, it's split fairly down the middle as far as how many municipalities have term limits and how many do not. This was something that was, again, proposed, it was discussed. There was certainly some calls for there being term limits amongst some of the members. And there are some members who are certainly opposed to it. And that's what the conversation, next week is intended to address.
Well, that being the case, Mr. Mayor, I mean, you're gathering together a small group of people, chiefs, assistant chiefs, as you call them.
I'm sorry,
There
Mr.
are
Al-
many
Al-
more.
Mr. Albanese, if you don't mind, let the mayor just answer the three questions and then we'll come back.
And I can address that as well. That is, the question you're asking is essentially no different than one that you've posed yourself. And what I mean by that is I'm asking for the individuals who were elected by their company to bring the concerns of that company to me. And to your point, if a company or a department is not happy with that leader in the way that they are, or particularly a company president who's more so on the policy side of things than a company chief, if they're unhappy, they have the right to, vote that president or chief out. So I would hope that the chief and the presidents that I may be meeting with would be representative of their companies. So you're right. How can I be, I can't be certain, but it's no different than electing a mayor and a council who we hope as a whole are representative of the community that they are.
Mr. Council President, excuse me.
Yes, go ahead.
I understand your rationale. My question is, you're not giving the entire membership a vote on a very important issue. You are relying on those individuals, the assistant chiefs, to go out and beat the bushes and say, guys, are you aware about this? And this issue is going to be written into law that no chief, no fire chief can serve more than 2 consecutive terms. You're relying on a small group of people. Granted, they're representatives, but I think it should be brought to the entire membership. It's a big deal for these guys.
Your statement is accurate, Mr. Adney. Again, this is, I guess what you're asking for is a referendum on every single topic.
What I'm asking for is for this body, meaning the fire department, to have a democratic say in how their chiefs are selected, which they do, and for what length of time they serve.
And they had a democratic say in the representation that we're representing at this meeting.
Again, Mr. Mayor, you're splitting hairs. I'm saying it should be put to a vote of the members.
Mr. Minton,
Mr. Adney, I think,
excuse me, Mayor. I hear your concern, that your concern to the mayor and this governing body is that the entire membership should be in a room and vote on this term limit. The mayor is meeting with the assistant chiefs and going to get a dialogue. The mayor will use his judgment with the assistant chiefs to see if that's necessary. So he'll take that dialogue up with first the assistant chiefs and the chief and go from there.
I'm sure he will.
And Mr. Adney,
I have faith in our mayor. I really do.
and to address that, and again, this is not how I operate, but the short answer that I could give, and again, I'm not, is, well, this council can decide what they want to do with the ordinance and have no input. Of course, that's not what we're doing. I want to have the input of the company. I'm trying to get, and without it being a referendum, I'm trying to get a snapshot of what this entire department wants in this regard. And much like cannabis, I'm not going to waste an hour and a half of my time to say, I don't care what anybody says, this is what I'm going to suggest. I'm having a meeting in order to address that potential concern. And if it is a concern that raises, more individuals within the department saying, we don't think this is fair, then it may be considered. And if there's overwhelming support for it, then it may move forward as is. And I'll then make my recommendations to each of the council members.
You're liking this upcoming meeting to the town hall meeting, which I give you kudos for. But you opened up that town hall meeting to the entire tax base, the entire population of Little Falls. You are not opening up this meeting on August 4th to the entire body of the fire department. Well, so you can't, you're mixing apples and pears, saying, I don't want to waste, you're not wasting your time. But you can't have anyone in this room believe that a town hall meeting and a meeting of 7, 10 individuals out of 90, okay, is the same thing. It's an important issue. Why not consider it as important as 14, 16, when you had a town hall meeting? Open up the meeting to the entire membership. That's my only question. That's my only concern. And I'll leave it up
I
to
think
you,
we're
Mr.
going
Mayor.
to agree to disagree on this one. I think
We're not going to come to, this is the way it's going to be, and, I'm just voicing my opinion on it.
Sure. And to address the other questions that you had, the makeup of the department at 100 members, again, there's no change at all to the ordinance. That remains the same. There are also a number of auxiliary members per company that are also permitted. That will also remain the same. There's no change to that whatsoever. As far as the life members, there's also no changes to their ability to vote. Again, if the department or each company has concerns with that, that's up for discussion as well. Again, there's no change. I don't know that it poses an issue or not, but it's certainly, the entire ordinance is up for discussion.
And that's good. And the reason I bring up the lifetime members is because based on what little I know, and I don't know every membership and I don't know every bylaw, but there are certain houses in this town that have more lifetime members than they actually have active members. And my feeling is I don't want them to be disenfranchised. That was the only reason I brought it up. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms., for asking those questions. Mr. Riley, did you want to speak?
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Hi, good evening. Little bit background. My name's Eddie Riley. I live at 745 Riverview Drive in Totowa. I'm speaking here tonight because I am a member of your fire department. I'm also a member of the first aid of EMS. I'm a member of Totowa Fire Department. I'm a member of Totowa EMS. I'm an instructor at Academy on both sides, fire and EMS.
Mr. Riley, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you maybe talk further away from your mic? And we're having a little hard time hearing you.
Understood. How about that?
Yeah, maybe lower the voice too. Maybe that will help.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
It's an Irish thing. I call it out. Just one comment. I'll make it real short and sweet. Mayor, Town Council, I applaud you for giving us the opportunity to have some input on this new ordinance for the fire department. I will say, and I can speak on behalf of myself and some of my fellow members, in its present form, we don't like it at all. That's my opinion. My brothers and sisters will echo that, and I applaud the opportunity to sit there and discuss that with you guys through our chief and our presidents. That's all. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments this evening, Mr. Riley.
Thank you, sir.
Put him on the spot, but our fire chief is in the audience. Chief, would you like to speak concerning 1417? Yeah, you have to come up to the chief. You got to go through the motion, name and address.
Jeff Altanji, 165 Lincoln Ave.
Thank you. Go ahead, fire. Go ahead,
I'd
chief.
just like to say I look forward to sitting down on the 4th with the mayor and the business administrator. And we've been assured that we are going to have a say in the matter of some of the changes. I gathered some of them. Mr. Riley is a member of company number 1. They're holding their meeting this week, so we'll gather their comments and then we'll put it all together and hopefully have some healthy discussion. And, some changes have to happen. Some changes we're against, and hopefully we come up with a happy medium.
Thank you, chief. Thank you for all you do for the community. Thank you. Anyone else like to talk on 1417? Have a motion to close to the public on 1417?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Quaddy. All those in favor of close to the public on 1417 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Can I have a motion to table 14?
Council President, before we begin, I'm going to ask, I know it sounds like a very technical, but I'm going to ask for a motion to hold the vote on ordinance 1417 by the council, not a motion to table.
I'll make
Counselor,
a
you want
motion to hold the vote on
Counselor, you want to
1417.
explain that one to me? We're holding the vote on 1417 instead of tabling. Is that? Mayor, you have an issue with tabling versus holding? Yes. Oh.
And to the next meeting, and then you have your new, what your amended ordinance, or if you're going to amend it, and if the amendments are minor, then you can make those amendments at the next meeting and host a public hearing on the ordinance that's amended. And if you're gonna make changes with the ordinance.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. So we're okay with tabling, Mayor? You're okay with tabling?
Yeah. that's
Okay,
fine.
let's just go back over. Who made the motion to table?
I made the motion.
Okay. No, motion made by Councilmember Quadri,
I-
second by
I
Councilmember.
made the motion to hold the vote.
No,
Do I need to-
we're not holding the vote. We're
Change-
tabling the vote.
So I'll make a motion to table the vote.
Motion is second, is made by Councilmember Quadri, second by Councilmember Vanchery to table the vote on 1417. Mrs. Kraus, you have that? I know we went
Yes,
around.
and we're tabling to August 9th, correct?
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor of, do we need a roll call on the tabling?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll of table 1417.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Quadri,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Okay, Mrs. Kraus, read ordinance 1418, please.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1418, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending the Little Falls Fire Division and the Code of the Township of Little Falls Code Section 82.1 entitled Fire Prevention.
Have a motion to open to the public hearing on 1418.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quadri.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hablitz. All those in favor of opening for 1418 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. Motion carries. The floor is now open on 1418. Chief, would you like to speak on 1418? Have any concerns?
No.
Okay.
165 Lincoln.
Yeah, you don't have to do the address again.
Thumbing through it, I don't see many changes, just verbiage that I spoke to the business administrator on, so I'm okay with all of those changes.
Okay, thanks for attending this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak on 1418? Do we have anyone? No, okay, good. Have a motion to close the public hearing on 1418?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Hablitz. Second by Councilmember Vanchery. All those in favor of closing to the public on 1418 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1418?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hablitz. Mrs. Kraus, we're going to call the roll to adopt 1418.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Quadri,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mrs. Kraus, at this time, please read ordinance 1419.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1419, an ordinance entitled, Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 71, fees.
Thank you. Have a motion to open to the public on the hearing on 1419.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Quadri. All those in favor of opening the public hearing on 1419 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. The floor is now open on 1419. Seeing no one that does not want to speak, have a motion to close the public hearing on 1419.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Hablitz. All those in favor of closing on 1419 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Have a motion to adopt ordinance 1419.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilmember Quadri. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll to adopt 1419.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Quadri,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, Mrs. Kraus, at this time, read ordinance 1422.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1422, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 71, fees.
Thank you. Have a motion to open to the public hearing on 1422.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hablitz. All those in favor of opening to the public hearing on 1422 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. The floor is now open on 1422. Seeing no one come before us, have a motion to close on 1422.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quaddy, second by Councilmember Vanchery. All those in favor of closing to the public on 1422 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1422?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Hallett, second by Councilmember Vanchery. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll to adopt ordinance 1422.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. At this time, Mrs. Kraus, please read ordinance 1423.
Introduction of ordinance number 1423, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, to amend Chapter 7 on-street regulations of the Code of the Township of Little Falls with a second reading and public hearing scheduled for August 23rd, 2021.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1423.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hablitz. Mrs. Kraus, I'm sorry, Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll to introduce ordinance 1423.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Have a motion to open to the meeting to public matters.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilmember Quaddy. All those in favor of opening for general matters, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Mrs. Kraus, please read the statement.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give a name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President.
Mrs. Frega, I know you've been patient. The floor is now open for general matters, so go ahead and you'd like to speak to us? This is,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. So, I'm Doreen Frager is my name. I'm with and it's Animal Protection League of New Jersey. We were just reaching out to the various towns in New Jersey. We wanted to supply the towns with these non-lethal solutions. Wanted to address any concerns or issues that the towns may have. I'm not sure of what your geese management program is. If you do have any concerns, if you have a management program, we're available for any kind of questions or meetings or presentations. And, I have a list of information that I could supply. I can email to the appropriate person. So I was just wanting to know, is there any kind of issues or concerns with the geese in Little Falls? And if you do have a program?
Mrs. Frega, thank you for your time this evening. The geese actually is something I'm very well aware of with the industry that I'm in, and we did have a geese problem. We did have a geese problem on our field, but we since have now a turf field, but not all our fields are turf. So I don't think we're experiencing geese problems on our other fields for some reason, but they did congregate to the field that we did put turf on, which is no longer a problem. We do not have a geese program in place since we don't really have any issues that I'm aware of. Mayor can allude or the other council members. I don't think they're congregating on our public spaces on the municipal lawn or in other areas. At least I don't see any of that or have any complaints. However, having said that, if you would forward us your information to Mrs. Kraus. Mrs. Kraus, can you please give your email to Mrs. Frega?
Sure, it's ckraus@lfnj.com. And
okay,
you were emailing back and forth earlier.
Yeah.
So you have her email. Great. So just send your contact, and if situations arise that geese want to invade Little Falls, we will reach out to you and look at solutions.
And I would just like to say one other thing. Thank you so much for using flight turf. That's one of our solutions. And we also are here for the deer. I'm not sure if you have any deer issues, but we're here also to help you with solutions non-lethally for the deer. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Councilmember Vanchery, you want?
Yeah, Mrs. Frega, hi. I can tell you a few years ago, we did have a geese problem. We actually worked with the Geese Busters. We had them come in,
Okay.
Border Collie to help at the time with the Duva fields. But since the turf, has come into play, they're not there. But I would suggest that you reach out to Passaic Valley High School because the geese have found a home on the PV High School campus. They spend a lot of time in the back fields down by Hobson Ave where I reside. So you may want to reach out to the school as well to see if they're interested in it because I know they did have a dog for a while, but I believe Hornet passed away. So there's been a geese issue, on their campus. So it's something to look into for sure.
And is there someone that I can contact there, or should I just go through Cynthia?
Just contact the head of maintenance. If you look them up on the website, and you can send your information to them.
Okay, that would be fine. Thank you.
Floor is still open on general matters. Mr. Fernandez, the floor is open. Come up and talk to us.
Louis Fernandez,
Thank you.
Harrison Street.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know who mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that the fire chief was among us. I've been coming to these meetings since Christopher Columbus discovered America, and Jack Sweezy was always the fire chief, and I don't see him. Did he resign? Was he? What happened to the fire chief? That he has been doing a job for many, many years, and that's the one that we are accustomed to see.
Right. We don't comment on that, Mr. Fernandez. We have a new fire chief here, and he is the fire chief. Jack Sweezy is no longer our fire chief.
So you can't tell whether he was fired or he resigned or.
Mayor, would you like to comment?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I can't say more than he was terminated from his position and there is pending legal action at this time.
Also, another comment that I've been trying to make for quite a long time. You always tell us to state the name and the address. Well, in these days where safety and privacy is so important, especially safety, because we are dealing in, I'm sure you can tell us, Chief, there are so many lunatics out there that all they want is your private address, and if they have an issue with you, they go and harm you. Wouldn't be, I mean, look at this. We all know each other. Basically, we all know that we are residents of the township. I can see if somebody new walks into this room and that we are not familiar with, I can see him stating his name and place of residence, for the first couple of times or so until you verify that he's a legal resident. But I feel for privacy more than for safety more than anything else, and that you may make comments that may upset people or they don't agree with you or whatever. I think it will be a good idea, especially if he shows up to the microphone or he does. You know us for years and years and years. You know that we are residents. I don't think we should be stating the address every time, just for safety.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Yeah, in a world where cyber threats and people looking up people, I understand your concern there. I know we're walking into the meeting, you and I together, where we're talking, and then once we hit this room, it's a formality. I think it's necessary for the record, correct me if I'm not, Mr. Kushner or Mrs. Kraus, that the residence, the address is stated for the record. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Is that do we know, is that a legal, counselor, is that legal that all council chambers do that, ask for the address? Okay. You heard the counselor say, okay, I've spoken as a good attorney. He said he'd like to investigate that and we'll look into it. If we don't need the addresses, maybe we'll do without them.
Maybe we can say, Louis Fernandez
Right.
Jackson Park
That's,
area or
well, whatever. We'll take a look at it.
Stating the actual number and address.
Right. Well, we'll take a look at it, Mr. Fernandez. And if it's not necessary, we'll visit it and we'll bring it back around. Thank you for your comment. But, if anyone's ever bothering you, you could call the police right away, right? Okay. Well, that's not fair to say. The police has a great response time, right? Go ahead, Ray. Name and address, you know the rule.
Raymond Kostrowski, 170 Donato Drive.
Good evening.
Good evening. A little while back, maybe a couple months ago, I spoke to the Public Works Department. When we did my street there, Donato Drive, it seems to be like, I guess you could call it a depression by the curb that seems to be growing little by little. If you go by my house, it's directly by the front door. Look directly from the street, where the front door is, you'll see it right there, right at the curb. They said they would send, the engineer look at it, and I haven't heard anything, so I don't know if they've been out there or whatever. But it's starting to develop a little bit more.
Right. Right. I always, when they say they, who was they that said the engineer? Because I like to back out where the ball was maybe, what's going, who
Well,
was,
when I went to Public Works, whoever, because I know Phil had passed away, whoever took over his position. When I went, I had to meet it, and I think on, one day during the week. And I spoke to him and they said, you're gonna have the engineer look.
okay. So
Town
Mayor, can you take a look at this and see, circle back around and find out what's going on and see what we could do with this?
Yeah.
Did you say it's a suppression or?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's depression, yeah.
Okay,
It's
very
probably
good.
about the size of a car tire.
Well, we don't want it to see to get any bigger, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I noticed that one day, there's a little bit of thing, and I said, okay, street settle a little bit, so but it's starting to grow little by little.
okay, thank you.
And the other thing is when we redid Donato Drive, it was about a 2-foot piece of land, of course, everybody's lawn that they had to take out, do curbs and everything. And they redid it, but when they seeded it, it's almost like there's more weeds than grass there.
Yeah.
It's just, absolutely terrible. I know they fulfilled their part, the contract was part of the contract, but I mean, if you go there on the street, you can see, and, I know ours is kept up because we have the sprinkler system. So it's, it's not an issue of it wasn't water, but it's just absolutely terrible. It's more weeds than grass. And I know in the meetings we had leading up to this whole project, they had to take out the trees for the curbs, which is understandable. And a lot of trees needed to go anyway because they were wrecking the curb. But they were supposed to replace the trees. And I know my wife, I think, has spoken or sent letters to the mayor. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but I think you said the trees aren't going to be replaced, or?
I spoke to the DPW superintendent, and I do believe that we do intend to replace them. It's just not that every good season's a good time to plant a tree. And I think we were waiting for one of our next orders of trees. And I do think that there were several that were slotted to be installed, or I should say, to replace the ones that were taken down
Okay.
in your area.
Yeah, because I know I think on Fall Place, somebody had purchased their own trees to put them up, I think.
Well, yeah, and I do know, I think we intend to plant a couple of them in your area.
Okay, yeah, because I know my wife asked me, and I, when after the meeting, I'll find out. I know when we had the town hall meeting at the Civic Center about the whole project, that was part of it, and I said, in a while, something should have been done at this point.
Yeah, I don't think we purchased trees last year in light of everything that was happening with the pandemic.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can understand that. Okay.
Ray, we'll take a look at that tree situation, but that buffer that you talk about is, it really gets me upset. Contractors just do exactly what they're supposed to do according to the bid contract, right? So the contractor seed is just a terrible seed. And unfortunately now becomes a homeowner to go in there and to rip all that junky stuff out that the contractor did at a cost. I mean, it costs the homeowners money. So it's not easy to do. If you were to do it yourself, it's a heck of a lot of work. I've done that, some of it myself. It's not easy, especially if you're older. And to pay somebody, it costs money, but it is now falls to the homeowner to take care of it. But I agree with you. I think it's a really terrible situation when, God forbid contractors would use a little bit better grade of something, even though, they certainly got paid, but they just don't have to.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that may be part of the thing too, maybe on the, when we do our next contract,
All right.
for when they do that, to be more specific as to what they can do.
Right.
Not just, they're gonna see it, because I know they were back and seeded some spots that
Right.
really were brown. But it's just the same thing, like I said,
Right.
it's just, it's probably like the cheapest seed they could find
Yeah.
and put it down. But I think, next time we do a contract, that it should be very specific as to, if they're gonna replace the lawn, it should be, something like what they took out.
You and I may think that way, but we'd have to talk to legal when we go out to bid, and there
Oh,
could
yeah.
be an issue there as far as saying Kentucky bluegrass specifying, and next thing you know, we don't get no bidders or something. So, but we're definitely,
Yeah.
we're always looking to make the township, better, and I hear that complaint. It's-
Yeah, I'll get some pictures and I'll,
Right, thank you.
send it
Bring
to
them
you.
in.
You want me to send I can take some pictures. of
Sure.
the impression,
Absolutely.
Send to you or to?
You can send them right to Mr. Kusia.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Fernandez? Oh, you're going? Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else come forward, have a motion. Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to talk? Okay, thank you. Seeing no one else come forward, I want to thank everyone for attending our meeting this evening. Thank you to the staff. Appreciate you all the hard work you do to put on this meeting, and to Nelson. I have a motion at this time to adjourn this meeting,
Close
to close this meeting?
So
close
moved.
the public comment.
I'm sorry, I got to close the public comment, right?
Yes.
Have a motion to close the public comment.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second,
All those in favor, moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Quaddy. All those in favor of closing the public comment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
aye,
All those opposed, signify by saying nay. At this time, can I have a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quaddy,
Second.
second by Councilmember Vanchery. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. This meeting is now closed.